Alright, I got this guy off there. Flip bowls are probably still full of fuel. Pretty heavy compared to this guy. I just picked the two up. If I could put them on a scale, I would. This saying has to be at least twice the weight of the other one. Now, granted, it still has a linkage on it, and it is full of fuel, but it's at least double the weight. So yeah, that's another advantage going back to the Carter. It's going to be much more lightweight. And I forgot of this until I pulled the gasket off underneath it. I had to put an adapter plate on here to make that work. So yeah, if you're ever trying to go from one to the other, you're going to need that adapter plate. Well, that's enough for today, guys. I got a lot of progress done. This was a son of a bitch to get the condenser out of this area. This had to come out, which didn't want to come out easily. There's like an ear on the backside here. You had to kind of pop it loose over this, slide the whole thing over, then it came out. And I had to figure it out. I was just fighting it. Anyways, I got that out. I got it back. The hood closes nicely again. Had to readjust it. And then took the battery out, the carburetor, just not the distributor, but the coil pack and the condenser, the high pressure lines for the AC compressor. It ran from there to here and also to here and then back down into here. I got all that out. Okay, we removed the AC compressor, and let me tell you, this fucker is every bit of 35 pounds just by itself, plus that low pressure line. Look under here, man. Look at all that junk and crap. Let me get my screwdriver back on it for you guys. Look at all this crap just hiding on the engine in here. You can't even see this thing when all that stuff is in the way. It is gnarly. I'm gonna work on, maybe I'll just get the shop vac on that, get that all out of there before I take off the intake. We're moving our way slowly closer to the intake. I don't want to pull the distributor quite yet. I gotta time the engine, get the top dead center on the harmonic balancer on mark before I even think about pulling that thing. That will be getting replaced as well. That's the original points and condenser setup that went to the coil that was right here, that goes over here to this factory ballast that still works. Just once it gets hot, it starts acting funny. So that's another reason why I'm getting rid of the points and condenser setup. I'm not throwing them away, but I tell you what, end of the world comes and electronic parts don't work, that thing will come in handy, but it's not worth the headache for now. Okay, something else I just noticed. You guys want to see something funny? So underneath this manifold doesn't sit really flush down in the valley. This little plate is separate from the intake, right? So that's the oil seal underneath the intake. It's separate from that valley. So there's like this cavity underneath there, and somebody had the bright idea to, it looks like insulation wrapped with aluminum foil underneath the backside of this thing to try to cool off the cast iron intake for better breathing. Good redneck ingenuity. I'll give that an A+ on creativity, but yeah, that's not going back in there. That's going in the trash, guys. Okay, guys, so I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be starting to take off some of the permanent bolts that are going to be going back on, but I don't want to mix them up. And I do have new bolts coming for the intake, but just in case, I'm gonna take note of where they all went. How are you gonna do this with all these bolts? You got, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 per valve cover. You have 8 or 10 on the intake. God only knows how many more we're gonna have on between the exhaust manifold and the cylinder head. So how are we gonna take note of all that? And if you're really good at it, you can probably remember it and figure it out, but at the same time, you might end up waiting on a part for 6 months and try to remember where all this stuff went. So try to do the best thing, the smart thing. Come over here, get yourself a nice piece of cardboard, and you're gonna just draw a map on here where everything came from and stick a hole right where that bolt goes. Okay, I just kind of made a crude one here. This is how I do it. I'm just going off of the center here. This could be intake, valve cover, exhaust, and then head. So all of our head bolts, we'll put them in the order and where they are. We've got the passenger side, driver's side, intake in the middle there, So yeah, if you're doing this, it's like a nice little handy trick. You can do it whatever which way works best in your head, but this is the way I do it. Okay, next thing I'm going to do here is pull the intake. I got it pretty exposed. Looks like there's 4 bolts on either side, so 8 bolts total, unless you have the factory, what's that thing called? The choke. The factory choke right there next to the carburetor. I don't think those have to come out, but just in case they do, if it doesn't want to move, then y'all take them out, and then I'll pop it loose. But it's funny, on the driver's side, 2 bolts for the throttle linkage. This bolt had the AC bracket. This bolt had an AC bracket. So almost every bolt on this side was also secondary use. This side over here, I think it's just one for the ballast, and that was it. So let's get started. All right, here we go. We're gonna start popping this off. We got my little pry bar here. We're gonna grab a corner of a foot and just kind of pop the seals loose. I don't think this intake has been off of this vehicle in 50 plus years, maybe 60 years. I could be very wrong on that. I know the valve covers have been off because I've been a part of that in the past. Distributor's been out, but I don't think the heads or the intake have been off of this car ever. It's not since 1969. So here we go. And again, if you feel any resistance, stop, double, triple check for bolts. If you are fighting a bolt, you're bound to break something. So just make sure all your bolts are out of the same. We got one side popped loose. This other side, be very gentle. Oh yeah, that's it right there. I'm gonna make sure before I pull this thing, I have a place to set it down at. And then, yeah. Also, always kind of clear your path before you get started on this, because once you get your hands on it, you're not letting go until you're setting it down. And you definitely don't want to drop it back in the valley. You want to make sure you don't damage the valley. Yes, I know we're replacing the cylinder heads, but that valley right there is still very important. Just be careful, don't drop it. Look at this, guys. Remember I told you I found that one piece of tin foil and housing is insulation? Well, look, that looks like another piece right there. Let's see if we can grab this thing. Oh my gosh. Look at this thing. That's another piece. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Was this factory equipment? That is so funny that was on there. I am dying to look underneath that valley pan, see how the engine's looking. But at the same time, I don't want a bunch of debris and shit flying in there. So I'm going to leave it on there now. All I got to do is pop it off with a screwdriver. Looks like there is a bar on either end in the valley holding that thing into place, part of the seal for the valley pan. It's weird that these have a valley pan from the factory like that versus just the intake butting down and sealing it. It appears at least this one didn't have coolant going through the intake. That's kind of cool. Okay, I got all the spark plug wires disconnected on the driver's side. First one that came out, this is the bigger of the 2 spark plug sizes. It is the 13/16. But yeah, look how fouled that thing is. I told you guys this thing was running like shit. This spark plug might have 2,000 miles on it. It is it is running very rich. Before, I think it's got a weak spark. The vacuum was just, it wasn't even there. There was a lot of issues going on with this engine. I'm hoping with changing everything out on the top end, it's just going to breathe some new life into this thing. If that doesn't do it, we're going to have to rebuild the bottom end. And check this one out. The spark plug right next to the oil dipstick. Yeah, there's not even enough room in there to put just the socket and the ratchet on, so gotta have to use the hex on the outside of this with the wrench and to pop that thing off. But that one seems to be the worst out of the bunch, but man, it's just tight.